I really enjoy the way I've been running my channel probably for the past year. Really, honestly. And I've talked about it and just really getting into retro stuff. When something new does come along, I cover it because to me, it's just so rare that something new is actually worth anything. So obviously, when I discovered Doug Brody's books and had him on last week, and I've been talking about those a lot, and I'm excited about those, and I'll talk about new ones that come from him. John Jackson Miller's Batman novels. I was super excited about that, especially because I didn't care for Sam Hamm's comics. And, so I'll be covering the new book that comes out this October from John Jackson Miller in that universe. And, so that stuff, sure. I think it's very rare these days that, and this is just me, this is just my taste and what I think and how I see things, coming from Hollywood or, when it comes to TV or films, they require a bigger budget. So I think it's far more likely to get somebody writing a cool book or a cool indie comic or whatever. I've got the new Cyberfrog Dark, what was it called? Sound Engraver. Not Red Extermination, but anyway, just got that yesterday, so I'll be reading that and reviewing that. But it's easier for somebody to put out a comic or books that are quality material when it comes to a film or television, even if it's more, independent style. You need more funding. You need funding for that, and that means you have to keep a lot more people happy. And people in the industry just want a lot of. It's either execs trying to meddle and pretend that they're storytellers and they know what's good for the story and end up ruining something, or it's people pushing agendas or whatever. And I just don't have time for it anymore. I'm 45 years old, and that's not old. I mean, it's ancient to anybody, in your 20s, but given your whole span of life, it's middle age, and so there are people living wonderful lives much older than I am. So I'm not pretending like I know everything. I'm the wise one now. No, but I have gotten to the age where I'm like, my time matters. And my time is way too precious to me just to pick up that book on Amazon and just try it. Looks interesting. That TV show, that looks interesting. I'll give that a try, or I'll just go see the movie. I know it's a lot of things about it that it seems like I might not like it, but I'll go give it a chance. No, that's like 2 hours plus of my life that I can't get back. And then compound that when you realize, if you believe as I do, that stories really do affect you. I don't want to invest all of that. So into something that's going to affect me emotionally or, any other way. So I like sticking to the older stuff unless I stumble on something new that there's enough reason for me to give it a chance, And we talk about that some other time too, like reasons I might give new stuff a chance or whatever. I was thinking today, normally I would have made a bunch of videos by now about all the wrong steps and all of the things that seem so wrong and bad about this James Gunn Superman movie. But I've gotten to the point where I just don't care. I still think it's horrible, and I'm not even going to touch it. I'm not going to watch it for save my life. But when the Snyderverse came out, Man of Steel came out, I was all gung ho, like we got to fight this. And I did a lot of stuff on social media and pointed out, look, people need to remember what Superman really is and who he really is. At this point, I don't think it's worth it to fight anymore. Not because Hollywood can't be swayed; they can. If people actually decided to stop going to see everything that comes out, and people just won't. People need new content. They don't care if it's bad. Culture really is dead. It's dead, and I'm not saying that to be hyperbolic. I mean, if you look at Hollywood in general, they've forgotten how to tell stories, how to create new franchises, how to do new things. They've forgotten how to do that for a number of reasons. They don't want to risk it, or there's too much meddling and all this kind of stuff. They've just forgotten. Our culture itself has come to such a standstill. We talked about this before, but ever since 2008 was really the beginning of the end with the smartphone, yeah, right? With AT&T putting out their the first smartphone. That kind of started, and then we saw over the next 10 years or so, culture just grinding to a halt. And you see it in clothing styles. If you showed up, if we went back and got somebody from 2005 in a clothing style that was really unique to 2005 and brought them into the present, they wouldn't look all that different. Maybe if they were really into this or that, or still had some frosted tips left over or something, you might go, but no, it wouldn't. Our culture has ground to a halt because we no longer have shared moments. anymore. Whether that's and that's because of the technology that it's given us. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, but culture's ground to a halt. Again, I'm trying to kind of skip over some things. I don't want to spend all night talking about this. I want to get to my reviews, but I just wanted to point out and what we're. Let me say this. This will be the last thing I say about it before I move on to the reviews. I mentioned Superman, for example. What I've seen happen, and I'll give you my prediction as to what's going to happen with this Superman Legacy film. When Superman Returns came out 2009, and again, I can look back on Superman Returns now and appreciate what was good about it, certainly. At the time, I was fighting it tooth and nail because I didn't want the possibility of that influencing Superman, from there on out in the culture. That put some cracks in the character in Superman's cultural place a little bit. Nothing that couldn't have been fixed. But when Dan DiDio and Jim Lee created the New 52 in DC and started shoveling that through at all costs, they sent a torpedo to the heart of Superman in our culture. And it eventually exploded, eventually fragmented, especially by the time you got the Snyderverse going out there and whatnot. And it got to the point where, and people started to believe this, they started to believe this lie that these are just different versions of the character, guys. Come on. I mean, things evolve and they've always done this. No, they haven't always done this. Superman, the character, has remained remarkably the same for decades since he was created, up until 2011 when Dan Dio decided they needed to totally screw him over and remake him in the image of Batman or whatever. And then that just kept going and going and going. When Superman, the cultural place of Superman, the cultural character of Superman exploded, of course, he still lives on in many of our memories, but Warner Brothers doubled down on the Snyderverse for so long, and then they started putting out different versions because they're trying to hedge their bets, and now they've got James Gunn in here doing his thing on it, where they've got this different, the Superman, the character exploded, and there are all these little piles of rubble of the character everywhere that will still burn brightly, but Warner Brothers has systematically gone over to each one of those little piles of rubble, and they're burning them out for all they're worth and then moving on. And that's what we're going to see with Superman Legacy. It's easy to just sort of casually pay attention and go, what are you talking about? He's talking about a bright hero. It looks at the colors and the music and truth, justice, and the human way, all the ways that James Gunn wants to be the auteur filmmaker beyond this. No, this is Superman. Screw you, James Gunn. This isn't about you. This is about Superman. That's what we want to see in this movie, not you. We want to see Superman in this movie, not your breed of dog because it's what you have. And screw that. This is a Superman movie. It should be that. And there are a number of different ways, but he's got enough of the little things right that people are going to go, oh, that's wonderful, and everybody's going to pretend that this is the greatest thing ever next month when it comes out. It's going to do well. I don't know how well it'll do, but it's going to do well enough to where no one's going to talk about it losing money. They'll go forward to try and make some more movies in this universe. By the end of summer, no one's going to give a crap about the movie Superman Legacy. Everybody's going to be fixated on, what about the Batman movie they're going to do next? No one will care at all about Superman Legacy anymore after the summer. During the summer, they're going to pretend that it's the bestest thing ever, and it's wonderful, and you stupid critics, ha ha. After the summer, no one will care about this. The Gunverse will get maybe 3 more films, and then it'll peter out as well. And that maybe that'll happen one more time with an iteration of Superman or such, but eventually it's going to get to the point where they're like, well, I mean, audiences are just they got fatigue. They're just not really into it anymore. No, we've always been into these characters if you get them right. And but like I said, it's not worth fighting anymore because too many of you, and I don't mean literally you, but so many of you listening right now agree with me, but you're thinking, well, I'm still going to go see it. I mean, I gotta give it a chance. I mean, and so there's no point in fighting because people will still go shell out their money for it. We won't have a return to anything of cultural value in terms of contemporary culture until people start craving quality and not just new content. And I think we are light years away from the masses actually craving quality and not just new content. That's what people want today. And that's part of so much is a part of that too. Again, I can sit here and talk about it forever, but people are forgetting how to think. They're forgetting how to discern. They're forgetting how to, in everything, just even writing, as a writing professor, teaching college writing and whatnot and teaching literature, students are using AI to write now, and it's getting harder and harder to catch. And you've got a lot of professors saying, oh, well, this, you should just teach them how to use AI properly. I saw a Grammarly ad, and it it was for, if you need to write a paper, Grammarly does more than just check grammar. Grammarly will create your outline for you. Just put in the topic and boom. And it showed how it just creates, this is what your first paragraph should be about. This is what your second paragraph, like it literally, and it says, we don't write it for you. We just help you along. If you outline it, you told me exactly what to write, and then how hard is it for anybody just to take the outline Grammarly gives you and go over to ChatGPT and say, write me a paper based on this outline. Boom, it's done. There are articles coming out now too. I stumbled across one the other day. A college professor reconnects with one of her students that was just like at the top of her class and went on to get a good career and everything. And she's asking her how things going because she reconnects with her. And the student is having a lot of trouble in the work world communicating, a lot of trouble expressing herself, in work situations, whether memos or even just in-person situations, a lot of trouble taking criticism, a lot of trouble just basic communication, people skills. And the article was about how schools should start teaching basic soft communication skills again. And that might sound silly to you. It's not though, because here's how think about teaching your grandma how to text, right? And your grandmother's like, what does lol mean? And you have to explain, no, that means they're laughing out loud, but not really. They're just trying to say something's funny. Or, why do they send me this image of a dancing such and such? No, that's a GIF. And what they're trying to say is this. You have to teach them almost a whole new communication method, a whole new language, basically. That's what children today, that's what young people today in college, coming out of high school and college, that's how they are with just basic person-to-person communication skills. And you can blame a bunch of things, the technology, you can blame the pandemic lockdowns, you can blame whatever. People just aren't taught how to human anymore. And it's so true. You spend enough time with enough young people, and of course you'll find exceptions. I know some families who really do well with their children or whatever, but it's the world's changing in a really ugly way. And anytime you say that, every generation gets to a certain age, my age, and starts going, oh, what are these kids doing these days? It was much better in my era. Sure. And yeah, some of that I do feel just naturally, but I think I can make the hard argument that no culture, we've never had culture change this drastically. This is far different from people, suddenly watching TV all the time when TV was invented. This is far different than that. This is like people are literally losing basic communication skills. So anyway, that's just all a big topic, and it's all, my point is, I like what I'm doing here. I don't think, and I'm not saying I won't make another video on, like, for example, how James Gunn's Superman totally misses the mark, or some other movie or whatever. But those videos will be few and far between if I decide to make them anymore at all, because it's just not worth it. The most you can expect from that route is to be like one of these anti-woke channels that feed the very beast they're claiming to try to kill. And they don't want that beast to die, because if Disney's still there pumping out crap, then it means they still get to talk about it and get clicks and so forth. Talked about that, the whole griftosphere thing. So I'm not into any of that. I'm not here. I'd love it when I can make money here. This is great. Alec produced $50 super chats, so much well appreciated, but but you'll never see a video from me. Guys, YouTube has changed their algorithm lately, and I need some help. Please help me save my channel. No, because this isn't my primary source of income. Anything I make from YouTube is a few bucks extra. Girl, that's cool. That's great. If I'm not having fun doing what I do, if I'm not passionate or interested in what I do on YouTube, then you won't see me here anymore, So yeah, anyway, I don't know. Hopefully there is some sort of through line of logic to all of that. But I did want to just, just call attention to how the channels change and say, yeah, I'm going to keep doing this. I have been heavy in movie reviews lately, but, I'm going to come back to the comic reviews and, fold in the book reviews and so forth as well.